Welcome to the Linux Guy Guru, and now your host, Jay Benjamin.
Hi, my name is Jay Benjamin. Thank you for tuning into the Linux Guy Guru. For those of you who are new to this program, this is our second episode in this series that highlights open source Linux-based computer operating systems. In today's program, I will discuss internet security in these troubling times and many other important issues surrounding internet security and how it affects each and every one of us. I like to begin this broadcast by citing an article from July of 2016 in the New York Daily News written by Stephen Rex Brown. The article is entitled Microsoft on Privacy. The National Security Agency's request for information on its customers that the NSA called its digital spying program a team sport, according to a new report. The latest documents leaked by Edward Snowden and reported by the Guardian newspaper reveal the extent of cooperation between the tech giant, Microsoft, which advertises its commitment to users' privacy, and the government. Microsoft worked with the spy agency to ensure analysts had access to the Outlook email service as it was rolled out with better security protections earlier this year to replace Hotmail, the paper report. The government also was granted access to emails before they were encrypted. That's right, before they were encrypted, a protection that users employ specifically to keep their messages from being read or analyzed by anyone but the intended recipient. When Microsoft bought the popular chat service Skype, the company helped the NSA ensure that it could monitor both audio and video conversations as well. A previous leak revealed the existence of a program dubbed Prism, which gives the NSA direct access to the servers of 9 major internet companies like Google, Facebook, and Apple. Wednesday's additional information gleaned from internal NSA newsletters provides more insight into how those tech companies aid the government in monitoring a wide manner of digital communications. The Guardian reported the NSA hailed how easily information could be shared with the CIA and FBI, calling the program a team sport. Sweeping and top-secret orders leaked by Edward Snowden, who remains holed up in a Moscow airport seeking asylum, show that NSA analysts have clearance to access an individual's online activity provided they are 51% sure that one of the targeted parties in the communication is a foreigner not on American soil. An NSA agent needs an individual warrant to access an American citizen's internet activity, unlike Americans' call data, which is gathered en masse. Microsoft insisted in a statement that it is only complying with specific government requests for information. We would not respond to the kind of blanket orders discussed in the press over the past few weeks, Microsoft said. The company has said that in the last 6 months, it has received between 6,000 and 7,000 criminal and national security warrants, subpoenas, and orders affecting between 31,000 and 32,000 consumer accounts from the U.S. governmental entities. The company said that it was only a fraction of its global customer base. From the moment you agree to Microsoft's user agreement, they have complete control of your administrator password and everything that you say and do on your computer, and can be turned over to a government body at any time. So Microsoft is not your best friend. They are complicit in getting you involved in possibly criminal investigations. Many of you listening have already installed Windows 10 without reading the software agreement. If you had taken the time to read the agreement, you would be shocked to learn that Microsoft has your administrative password and can share your personal information with the NSA, CIA, Homeland Security, or any other agency without your permission, unbeknownst to you. Your information is compromised from the moment you agree to download the Windows 10 software. But there is a way to disable the Microsoft built-in administrator access, and you'll need to Google that, and that'll help you do that. My advice for you is to disable it as soon as possible. For 30 years, or since 1976, Microsoft Bill Gates has engendered the idea that all software should be paid for. I'd like to cite an article written in Linux Format magazine, October 2015, issue number 203. Richard Stallman, the founding force for the GNU Manifesto's aim is to paint a different future for software. He goes on to say there are 4 paths to internet freedom, which are: 1. Freedom to run the program as you wish for any purpose. 2. Freedom to study how the program works and modify it to suit your purposes. 3. Freedom to redistribute copies of the program. And 4. Freedom to publish your own modified versions. None of these freedoms place any restrictions on selling the software. When Richard Stallman speaks of free software, he is referring to freedom, not price. If we allow the internet to be taken over by those who don't understand its importance, the impact would be huge. Many Windows users didn't understand how Windows worked, but yet they used it, no different than Apple. And it's the same with Linux. I like to use an analogy here. Let me remind you, all who's listening, that we all use electricity every day in our lives without giving it a second thought to how and why it works. We just use it. And Richard Stallman goes on to say, many users do not understand the difference between the kernel, which is Linux, and the whole system, which they also call Linux. Programmers generally know that Linux is a kernel, but since they have generally heard the whole system called Linux as well, they often envision a history that would justify naming the whole system after the kernel. For example, many believe that once Linus Torvalds finished writing Linux, the kernel, its users looked around for other free software to go with it and found that, for no particular reason, most everything necessary to make a Unix-like system was already available. So if the wheel wasn't broken, why fix it? What they found was no accident. It was the not quite complete GNU system. And in my closing statement in this segment, it's Stallman's Law. In an epoch when governments work for the mega corporations, instead of reporting to their citizens, every technological change can be taken advantage of to reduce our freedom, because reducing our freedom is what these governments want to do. For those of you listening, if you care about freedom, it's worth familiarizing yourself with the philosophy of the bearded renegade, Richard Stallman. You'll find a number of his essays online at https://gnu.org or on his own website, https://Stallman, STALLMAN.org. It's well worth reading. Your privacy is threatened left, right, and center, and it is not only online criminals snooping on your data, but also meddling government agencies and unscrupulous companies. Either way, there are still things that you can do to fight back. Protecting your personal privacy, and even Apple, is part of the problem. Apple has been required by the Drug Enforcement Agency to unlock an encrypted iPhone 5 in a high-profile case being slogged out in court these days. The reasoning goes that as long as Apple leases the software, example, the user is not the owner, the company is the one that should do the unlocking, even without the phone owner's consent or even knowledge. Although Apple's resisted the orders this time around, it has had few qualms in unlocking user devices in the past. According to Edward Snowden, Intel intentionally broke the random number generator on their chips at the behest of the NSA. Random numbers are used extensively in cryptography. The seemingly random but actually predictable stream of numbers generated by many Intel chips made it easy for the security agency to de-encrypt messages that travel through the net. Calls from Western governments to include backdoors in every and all applications to fight cyber terrorism will usher in a new age of defective by design software and 1984-esque snooping on civilians throughout the world. On the side note, you can always tell when this stuff comes from clueless politicians. Just look for the cyber prefix that seems to tag onto everything. There are more threats to your rights to privacy out there, but the three listed above easily thwarted. Just use free software. Free software license do not lease you the bits that make up the program. They explicitly give them to you. You are the owner, not the distributor, not the developer, you. There is no higher authority any government agency can address when seeking to decrypt your device. Even if they did have a legal leg to stand on, and most times they don't, they won't be able to go behind your back. Although GNU/Linux does use Intel's random number generator, it is combined with many other factors such as environmental noise, which are random fluctuations of the mouse movement of a disk header as it reads and writes to the hard drive, the current time, or even actual noise picked up from a microphone. As for backdoors, they make no sense in open source code. If a program is legally obliged to ship with a backdoor, it will be just a question of hours before the hole is plugged by independent developers. And if a backdoor should be introduced, it'll be found and the responsible party publicly shamed and ostracized from the free software community. The project itself will be forked, and then the hole will be patched. However, there are more threats to your personal privacy than the ones listed. And for those of you, after installing the Linux system, that are still concerned with security for your online communications, you can use Kali Linux, which will allow you to audit and stress test your network. It can be run as a live USB and comes with a whole suite of tools to check an intranet for vulnerabilities. Kali Linux, based on Debian rather than the Ubuntu origins of its predecessors, Kali includes pre-installed copies of the most popular security utilities, including Network Sniffer and Analyzer Wireshark, Port Scanning, Tool Nmap, Password Cracker, John the Ripper, and even the AirCrackNG suite for penetrating testing of wireless networks. Where Kali differentiates itself from the competition is in compatibility, as well as 32-bit and 64-bit by 86 hosts. The team behind it have worked hard to bring Kali to be more popular ARM-based platforms out there. Kali has everything you need for full security testing. Kali Linux has been called a Swiss Army knife for ethical hackers. The distro is loaded with tools for penetration testing that you can use to compromise your own network. In order to identify the weak points of entry that can be exploited by crackers, the Debian-based distro has more than 300 tools and utilities that are arranged neatly in a categorized and structured menu. Kali Linux is available in multiple flavors and can be used as a live distro or inside a virtual environment. Breaking into your own Wi-Fi connection is easy as using Wi-Fi Protected Access, WPA, and Wi-Fi Protected Access 2. These wireless security protocols were intended to address the security shortcomings of WEP. Because the WPA protocols dynamically generate a new key for each packet, they prevent the statistical analysis that caused WEP to fail. Nevertheless, they are vulnerable to some attack techniques. WPA and WPA2 are frequently deployed with a pre-shared key, PSK, to secure communications between the access point and the wireless clients. Just remember, the biggest threat to security is weak passwords. Including Kali is John the Ripper. This is used primarily for exposing weak Unix passwords. Like Hydra, John the Ripper is a command line tool, but also has a graphical interface called Johnny, which does a nice job of exposing its various command line options. And the second way to secure our Linux operating system is to use Tails. Tails is a Linux distribution that protects your online privacy with the high goal of breaking down censorship barriers. Running as a live DVD or on a flash drive, Tails can be used on any type of computer and encrypts your data and saves it to a persistent volume for easy transport. Tails also comes with a whole suite of security-focused applications. Tails is a secure connection. The main feature of Tails is that it automatically handles your connection to the Tor network via Ethernet or Wi-Fi. This is a great feature. And one of the bonuses of using Tails uses a Mozilla browser, Firefox, which comes with the Tor button, HTTPS everywhere, no script, and AdBlock Plus extensions. The browser won't run any JavaScript, Java, Flash, or any other background applications which may leak data. In fact, the browser is so secure that it can prevent us from uploading our screenshots to Flickr by disabling access to the underlying file system. A handy feature of Tails is that it can wipe information from the random access memory, or the RAM, which is what most people know it as, which in normal use can retain information that can be recovered by an expert. Tails automatically connects to the Tor network and will set your IP address based upon where you exit the network. In our tests, we exited via Tor exit nodes in Germany and France. But if you feel that you need to change your identity by using the Vidalia control panel, accessing via the Tor icon at the top right of the screen, and from that control panel, you can also view the status of the Tor network and check your bandwidth usage. And Tails can even camouflage itself. Its default environment is GNOME, but Tails can disguise itself as a Windows 8 machine, handy for coffee shop, secret browsing situations, or public libraries. And I can assure you, you don't have to be James Bond or a secret agent to use it. Tor just works, and it works well, especially if anonymity is important to you. Tails can be used for online banking situations. It can also be used to download videos to watch later on. And one of the advantages is that you can plug in an external hard drive or USB flash drive and then capture the information and then just transfer it over to your external or your USB, and after signing off on the Tails system, just then take the information and then you can transfer it on to the actual hard drive of your computer unbeknownst to anyone. How cool is that? Tails offers a very simple entry to keeping anonymous online. It comes with a fairly comprehensive suite of applications for many day-to-day tasks. Tails is a good choice for its intended purpose, to help information be free. And if protecting your online identity is something that you need to consider, then Tails is something you should have, preferably for anyone who has a job such as a journalist or activist, or just a need to be anonymous. For those of you who are traveling, you gotta have Tails. You can't leave home without it. Tails is very, very important when it comes to traveling. A lot of people have their information stolen in airports, and this is a way to safeguard your information. Tails is the way to go. And for some, anonymity can be a matter of life or death. And I personally strongly recommend using Tails. I've been using it for a number of years now, and I won't leave home without it. It's like an American Express card for me. It gives me peace of mind and internet security wherever I go. And to get Tails, just go to their website at tails.boum.org. That's tails.boum.org, and you'll be able to get the latest version of Tails, and you'll be safe. I'd like to shift gears here if I may. The World Wide Web is the greatest system for sharing information ever created. But how do you stop it from sharing too much information? Criminals, web companies, and governments all have a reason to spy on your online life. In 2011, the most dangerous year to be an online citizen, particularly if you happen not to agree with everything your government said. 199 people around the world were arrested and detained because of content posted online. Many are still languishing in jail. The offending information ranged from exposes of environmental damage to religious instruction and criticism of unelected autocrats. In addition, there has been a recent increase in the use of netizens' information by web companies. Privacy policies have been extended, and Twitter now sells the rights to users' data. Some of the self-protection methods that we thought were sacred are not. What I will now share with you will have an impact on how you use your computer. Whether you are concerned about the amount of information that's being shared about you, or information gathered by web companies, or just how to stop them, follow along and I will provide possible solutions to many problems that you will be facing. One of the best ways to find out how much information is being revealed to the world is using Wireshark. This tool captures all information passing through your network interfaces and allows you to search and filter for particular patterns. Wireshark takes information from your network interface, so any information displayed in it is visible to other potentially malicious people on the network. Wireshark should be available to your package manager or from wireshark.org. Once installed, you can start it by going to the terminal and typing in sudo Wireshark. You will get a message telling you that you have started it with super user privileges. And though this isn't the best way of using it, if you plan on only using it a couple of times, I recommend that if you're going to use it more than that, to create a standard user account and then starting the program and using the super user password to open the program. Then you can click on your network device in the interface list. For example, for Ethernet, ETHO for the wire network, or if you're using a wireless, which I don't recommend, WLANO to start a capture. As soon as you start using the network, the top part of the screen will fill in variously with colored packages. The tool has a filter to help you make sense of some of this multicolored mess. For example, you can keep a prying eye on google.com searches using HTTP://FULL_URI space contains CONTAINS quotation marks google.com question mark Q quotation marks. If you now do a search, it will appear in the list and the search term will be found in the column. A similar term can be used, or any of the popular search engines can be used now to search using this method. Another pretty good trick is to find out how many computers are sharing your information between you and the server. You can do that by using traceroute to map the path packets and see what paths they take. Traceroute is TRACEROUTE. That's TRACEROUTE. And you can do that for your google.com. Make a note that if your computer is behind a firewall, you might find that this might not work. In that case, just use traceroute.org. That's TRACEROUTE.org. Always use a secure network connection. Example, insecure would be HTTP or secure would be HTTPS. It is advisable to set up your Firefox browser to use HTTPS everywhere whenever it's available. In our next program, we will go over all the benefits of using the Firefox browser. The simplest way of ensuring that you remain anonymous online is to use the internet only through the official Tor browser bundle and not any other application. Use webmail rather than email and beware of documents that contain web links unless you receive them from a trusted source such as PDF or document files. When using open source, only use hardware for the operating system so as you don't install third-party drivers or applications. When in doubt, do without. Trust, but verify. Wow, where does the time go? We are nearing the end of today's program. I've decided to commit to 1 to 2 shows a month. The programs will be 30 minutes in length, and the programs will be pre-recorded. If we're able to acquire a following, and I'll need your help to do that, then I may consider doing a live show with guests and callers who can ask questions. So if you like this program, please tell others about the show. In our first program, I featured Ubuntu 16.04 Linux operating system. I recommend that's the best place to start for beginners, would be to go to ubuntu.com, ubuntu.com. You can get the operating system for free at ubuntu.com/get-ubuntu/download. Make sure you know if your system is a 32-bit or a 64-bit machine. If your system is over 5 years old, there's a good chance that you'll need a 32-bit operating system to use it. If you don't want to download the ISO image and then burn it to a DVD, you can go to osdisc.com, and for about $6 you can get a DVD sent to your home using either a gift card, credit card, or debit card. I strongly recommend using google.com/Linux or ubuntu.com/support/services. For additional help information, you can go to help.ubuntu.com, ubuntuforums.com, or http://askubuntu.com, askubuntu.com. And you can also go to Barnes & Noble bookstore and pick up ubuntu-user.com or linuxpromagazine.com or linuxformatmagazine.com. And lastly, if you'd like to contact the show, you can do so simply by emailing us at linuxguyguru@gmail.com. And for additional information, we have a website you can go to. It's linuxguy.guru. On the website, you'll find videos, and should you be in the New York area, we can help you in converting a Windows or Apple computer to a Linux-based operating system with grace and ease at affordable prices. And don't miss our next episode, Top 100 Linux Tools. Take a stroll through the open source garden as we pick the best apps, tools, and utilities available to all Linux kinds. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in to the Linux Guy Guru. This is your host, Jay Benjamin, logging out.